Hi, hello. So, there's something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and I didn't have a good, uncomplicated enough anecdote with which to do so, but now I do. So, here's the thing. I think, to an extent, you are responsible for your romantic partner's behavior. I feel that way about the company one keeps in general, too, but when it comes to that extra level of commitment and equality that there is supposed to be with romantic partners, it's a bit more important that their behavior reflects on you that much more. And I'm only talking in terms of a fairly even relationship, okay? I'm not victim blaming people in dangerous situations, though even those have some arguments for an extent of autonomy. I'm talking about the little things. How, in a fairly even relationship, since you do have the power to influence things, you indeed are responsible for your partner's behavior, too. Here's the situation. My partner's family likes to have pizza nights. Z will make enough dough for like over half a dozen pizzas. The dough quantity depends on the expected guests. Both his siblings live on their own with their partners, so pizza nights are a good excuse for them to stop by and catch up. Z's brother and his brother's boyfriend were expected to come to our last pizza night. They confirmed their intention to come, and we all agreed on a good time, which was a couple hours before dinner time because there's only one oven and every pizza takes about 30 minutes to bake. So the whole evening with everybody doing their own pizza takes several hours and everyone gets to hang out in the in between. Like, that's the appeal of pizza night. The time when it would have been reasonable for anyone to start the chain of pizza making hits, but everyone in the house currently already is hesitant because there's five of us and there's two of them, like our guests that are coming. And we realize that our guests might want to do their pizzas as soon as they arrive because it is time consuming. So instead, we just prepped everything and we waited for them. They were supposed to be coming any minute now, right? The chance to be early before dinner time passed, and once it actually hit being dinner time, when it would have been nice to already have some pizzas made and we were hungry, we start making our own pizzas regardless. Me and my boyfriend Z make our pizzas, but his parents continue to wait, expecting that his brother is going to show up. Eventually, his brother messages the family to tell us that his partner had started doing a painting project that they couldn't be torn away from, so they're running late. So the parents make both of their pizzas, and the brother and his boyfriend still haven't arrived. Z decides to ask what kind of pizza that his brother and boyfriend would like. And then Z makes and bakes both of the pizzas for them. And they are still not there, and there is no ETA. It's just about to get dark out. It's been well over an hour since Z was done making their pizzas for them when we finally hear their car pull down the driveway. By the time we pause the show that we're watching upstairs to go and say hi, they're already gone. They literally showed up several hours late, let someone else make their pizzas for them, came, and then immediately left with them. That is not the social contract that anyone else had expected. And listen, I am antisocial as hell, but even I understand how unacceptable this was. To let other people labor over you, to make you specifically your preferred food, which you get for free, only for you to show up late, take it, and not even give a thank you. At the very least, in my opinion, if it looked like it was going to be that late, or I didn't feel capable of socializing on that given day, I would have told people that instead of having them hanging on, waiting, delaying their own mealtime. And I sure wouldn't have asked someone else to make my food for me anyway, because that's the social contract. Like, you get the free food, but you have to socialize a little. But back to my opening point about being responsible for your partner's behavior. This was unfortunately not unexpected. The brother's boyfriend is canonically avoidant. He started that painting project because he didn't want to come, and we all know it. The problem is, they only have one vehicle and he's the driver, which is extremely awkward for the brother. It puts him in the position of calling his partner out for not wanting to go, or having to pretend this was coincidental poor timing. What's easier, admitting he should have gone alone because his boyfriend does this kind of stuff so often, or pretend that his boyfriend didn't mean to start a lengthy project painting something when they were already committed and expected to be somewhere. Their parents, who were excited to see the brother and expected him, were quite disappointed. And they openly said to me, like, the boyfriend is an asshole, because we all saw this for what it really was. In the boyfriend's mind, if they're tied up long enough, if it's late enough, they can't be expected to stay long and can just take the goods and leave, which is manipulative and unacceptable, whether he's doing it, like, how consciously he's doing it or not. But the pattern is to a point that I'm not the only one who sees it anymore, and even if the brother is kind of oblivious, I think that this is his responsibility too. If your partner continues doing shit like this to avoid social obligations, it's your job to work around that, if you care. The brother should have demanded that his boyfriend drop him off here instead, so that he could do the pizza party that he wanted to do, and tell the boyfriend that if he didn't want to stay, that's on him. He doesn't get to drag the brother into it and then use them collectively as an excuse. Like, if your partner routinely does things that deny you access to what you wanted, that's not something that should be passed over as an innocuous whoopsie. But instead, it becomes this weird shared scheme of the brother not admitting what's really happening, of us all not asserting that some other compromise be made in the wake of his boyfriend's pathological avoidance. Like, what he did was unfair to everyone involved. To the brother that he didn't let see his family, to the family that was eager to see them, to my partner Z for the labor of accommodating them when they chose not to be there. And it is still on the brother because if he saw this happening and didn't play dumb, even if he couldn't demand that his boyfriend drive only him anyway, he had every ability to be honest with his parents, to ask them for a ride. But that surely would have caused conflict with the boyfriend because he was so going to get around to it. If it was my house and my pizza party, not only would I have not made pizzas for them, or obviously let them have them after the fact, but by the time they eventually did show up, my doors would have been locked. Like, no, that's not an excusable extenuating circumstance. You chose to start doing a project which you actively also chose not to stop doing either, so you did not show up on time or for several hours after what could be considered reasonable. You prioritized something else and wanted everyone to accommodate and play dumb for you to reap the benefits anyway? No. And as I said, this is a pretty common pattern. It's expected from that boyfriend. So at that point, I do think it's the brother's responsibility too. He let him fumble the social obligation and is an accomplice in the grab and go avoidance tactic. I say all this because I'm no stranger to enabling a partner in things that I don't entirely agree with. My ex got a lot more leeway than I was comfortable with in what he avoided, could act poorly without consequences, and how he treated other people, like treated me. And I let that happen. I let it get worse over time because that's what happens with that sort of conflict avoidance. It didn't benefit the brother enough to start a fight with their boyfriend and demand accountability because, in the end, they got to avoid a social gathering and got free pizza. The only price was their family's disappointment. But over time, that causes a rift, not just in expectations, but in the realities that we're all living. It's a long and complicated history, but for a while I both lived and worked with the brother and his boyfriend too. This sort of behavior became a constant game of pushing the goalpost back. In their minds, to feel okay about themselves, they've convinced themselves that this is an anomaly. They didn't mean to show up late. This was a one-time thing. They say they're sorry and will try again harder next time. Except that this exact sort of thing will happen again, and that will also be considered an accident, when the rest of us are acknowledging the pattern that this happens every time. So, no, it's not a one-off or a reasonable excuse. Any of those times. So, yes, it is the boyfriend's fault that he decided to prioritize some random task as to avoid a social obligation he clearly didn't want to do. And honestly, none of us really wanted him there for anyway, and he would have been free to deliver the brother and just leave. But it's also on the brother to willfully ignore a pattern of behavior. It is, in a way, enabling the boyfriend if he never faces consequences for said actions. If the brother is going to pretend that it was an accident rather than call it what it is, then there's a complicity. I realize how hard it can be to want to start a fight, to ruin the peace, to argue with someone for the sake of accountability. But it really is important to assert your boundaries and expectations of those around you, especially those closest to you, because it reflects on you too. Like, I also have a non romantic example of I went to a drive in theater last month, and when me and Z were leaving, there was a bucket of popcorn tossed on the roadside before the on ramp to leave the area. And if that was done by somebody that I'd gone to the movies with, like in that car, that would have been unacceptable. There was no excuse to litter. It was just BM. And as small of a thing that might seem like, that would have been a relationship ender for me. Like if I called them out on it and they didn't care, that'd be it. Because I'm not going to share space to host someone in my life who would do such a thing. It is very tiring, but we're all responsible for each other to a certain extent.